This is our TOK presentation on beauty by Amanda Pearson and Gina Urton. Also, a quick disclaimer, none of the photos here are our own. We do not take credit for them. And we were not paid to say anything in this presentation.
Alright, so me and Amanda were looking on Facebook, and we came across this article about a woman, Valeria Lukianova from the Ukraine, who underwent several surgeries to have this appearance of a real-life human Barbie. So she went several plastic surgeries on her face, she got several contacts, she got breast implants, she had ribs removed to make her waist look smaller, just to have this appearance.
So Gina and I were wondering how could a woman who was clearly beautiful before do this to her body? She wanted to look like this, the perfect Barbie, which is the American essence of beauty, of looking successful and powerful. But instead, all I see and all we see is this. Someone who has done way too many plastic surgeries and has gone beyond the realm of normal. And so this led us to the big question of,
to what extent does our culture influence our perception of human beauty? So we were wondering, why do we see this woman and are somewhat repulsed, but she thinks she's beautiful? Is it our culture that has that influence on us? What factors are at play in this situation?
and in order to do this presentation, we have to define a few terms, starting with beauty. We're considering beauty anything that is aesthetically pleasing to the eye and is sought after. And in humans, that's someone you fancy, someone you want to go on a date with, someone you could see on a movie screen, someone that everyone would say that person is beautiful. And culture. We also mentioned culture. And when we're speaking of culture, we're referring to the ideas of a certain group of people in a particular place. This means what happens in their daily lives, the weather of the place they live in, everything that affects a person is what we're considering their culture.
So the first area of knowledge we're going to discuss is science. We're going to talk more specifically about biology and natural selection, and even further, we're going to talk about evolution. So when we talk about evolution, we're talking about individuals of a species, including humans, who are choosing mates that are going to pass on their genes. So when we look at this guy, he's obviously very strong. He's holding up this shark. And so when we talk about evolution, females are attracted to strong males who are going to be able to protect them, who are going to be able to protect their children over a long period of time, and therefore pass on those genes. So when we talk about females, here we have fertility figures. So males are attracted to females who are good child bearers. The perfect biological female that they're attracted to has wide hips and large breasts and is usually on the heavier side so that they have enough nutrients to nourish their offspring in the womb. And so these two are perfect examples of people who will be able to pass on their genes to the next generation. Alright, we have several ways of knowing to talk about as well in the area of science. We have sense perception, and so when we talk about perception, we say that all creatures are hardwired, kind of it's in their genes, to recognize which individual is the most fit for the environment. So when we talk about humans, we're saying the strongest male or successful businessman, people can see this evolutionary success. So we can see with our eyes that they're going to be able to pass on those genes. But in society today, we depend less on these strong males. We aren't really looking for the guy who can hold up the shark. We're more looking for people who can provide for a house and food for us to survive. And we perceive through our senses who is going to be the best mate. And we can see the successful businessman versus maybe like a poor homeless man who, by how they dress and under what conditions we see them. So this is our sense perception. And when we talk about intuition, sometimes it's hard to exactly say what we're specifically attracted to about a person, but we just kind of know that they're beautiful and that they're going to be able to pass on those genes. And so it's an evolutionary advantage to just know by intuition whether a male will be good for a woman or not. So if we have to reason every time we see somebody whether they're going to be a good mate, it would take too long to weigh the pros and cons. So it's really good for us to be able to intuitively decide whether someone's beautiful or not. So we say that evolution acts on a population of individuals and selects for certain traits in different areas. Since there are different environments around the world, it's beneficial to be able to just know whether they're going to pass their genes on or not. Since there are different environments around the world, it's different for different people. So a beneficial trait in America won't be the same in Greenland, let's say. So science serves as a basis for what humans perceive as beautiful, and different cultures perceive this differently because evolution takes a different effect depending on where you live. So tying back to the knowledge question, culture affects our perception of what's beautiful since culture is based on where we live. And so we see this in a BuzzFeed video. Okay, so this woman sent a blank slate picture. It's her with no makeup, her hair is tied back. And so she sent this picture around the world, and she told them to make her beautiful. And so she got several images back of how they edited her and what their ideal thing of beauty was. So our first one is from Germany. Obviously, the skin tone is much lighter in this picture, and so we know that there's less sun in Germany than other places like India or Central Africa. So as a result, it's not an evolutionary advantage to have dark skin, which is why she has a very light skin tone. So pale skin actually helps this person to absorb more vitamin D, which means she's going to be more likely to survive, which is why they perceive her to be more attractive. And so the next picture is kind of the opposite. She has much darker skin, and we know in Pakistan they have a lot more sun, so it's an advantage to have dark skin to avoid skin damage. And so we have several implications from these BuzzFeed video. Even though individuals use biology to lead them to mates that are going to have their genes passed on, natural selection works different in each population, as we saw in the video. So in Germany, it was different than what was going to be beautiful in Pakistan. So we have also the idea that an individual will decrease their own fitness, but they'll still survive. And this person is also sought after. So in the animal kingdom, we have the male peacock. And so they have these big, beautiful, brightly colored feathers. And you would think that they'd be less likely to survive because they're more attractive to a predator and they'll be more easily seen. But the thing is that since they have these big feathers and then they're still surviving, they're probably actually really great and they're able to fend off these predators better. And so that attracts the females more. And so just like Valeria, she has this decreased fitness, but she still survived. So she's kind of out there, just like the peacock. But we still don't perceive her as someone who would have evolutionary success. So what does culture have to do with this? You could say that American culture sees someone who is unique as beautiful because there's just so many people here. But even though she's unique, we still see her more as kind of like an alien. She's not very human looking.